Hello everyone. For me the best part of journalism is asking tricky questions and getting unexpected answers. Who was the first community manager of Tribe Tampere? Why is it important for a startup to ask for help? What does an angel investor do? All these and much more you'll hear today. This is Tribecast Pilot, Episode 4, and my name is Marina. Today you'll hear interviews with Ossi Numinen, Linda Norgård, and Jere Härkänen, Mirza Sagdati. And then I'll give the voice to the early stage startups. This is Tribecast, powered by Tribe Tampere. Don't switch off your devices. Let's get started. And now we're having Ossi Numinen, and my first question is, besides, hello Ossi, and my first question is, could you please tell a few things about yourself, like your background, what do you do, where do you work, and so on?
Okay, so currently I'm working half-time as an angel investor, and about the other half-time I'm doing management consulting, for instance, team coaching and those kind of things. This investment part as an angel investor, part of it, and then we are running a small angel fund, kind of an angel fund that we also invest from a fund. Earlier, I have been an entrepreneur. For instance, I have been partner in 2 software companies and some other businesses as well. And when I was a young guy, I was an associate professor of computer science in the local university and chief information officer in the city of Tampere and Tampere University Hospital. So my background in that sense is in software engineering and that kind of stuff.
And speaking of your current occupation, the term angel investor can be heard quite often nowadays, but quite many people don't really understand what does it mean. Could you please explain?
Well, in a nutshell, angel investor is somebody who invests either his time or his money or both into companies. And basically to certain kind of companies, that is companies that are mostly in their early phases. They have maybe some good idea that they want to grow fast and scale up fast, and they don't yet have revenues so much that they can finance their own business from their incoming revenue, so they need financing, and that's basically what angel investors are doing. They help the early phase companies and invest in those so that the companies can start to make some revenue and some profit, and then later on can be profitable.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. You were one of the coaches today during Red Brick Accelerator.
Yes.
Could you please summarize in a few words what were your session about?
Well, I was talking about teams and team building and stuff that is related to teams. So basically from investors, whether it be an angel investor or a venture capital investor, from investors' point of view, there are some challenges with the teams, because in most cases that don't work as an investment, it is because the team. And so you need to put some extra emphasis on the teams. And so the team is important from the investor's point of view, but of course it's also important from the team's own point of view, how they feel good working together, how all the team members are as good as possible when you're taking care about the whole team or consider the whole team. So that's basically what we were talking about today. What is a good team? How you put up a team together? What kind of things you should concentrate on down the road to make the team as good as possible.
So if I got you right, in your opinion, the key to success for an early stage startup or for a startup in general is the right team?
It's probably the most important reason.
Okay, and how do you figure out that this is the team which will lead you to the top?
Well, our approach basically comes from Israel. So obviously, I guess there are many different kind of good teams, but what we are focusing on is that we have studied quite closely how Israeli startups work. And the results that they have made and they constantly achieve, they are just the best in the world. And so they have found out some important things what a good team must comprise of, and we try to understand and learn from those experiences and apply those things here in Finland in what we are doing. So I'd give you one example. In the Israeli startup teams, they understand very clearly what is ambition and what is motivation, how to motivate team members or to what extent you can motivate others, and what is motivation, what is ambition, and how these things relate to each other, and what you can do to improve these things inside your team. That is one example. Motivation and ambition. But ambition is absolutely an important quality of startup team to be able to make something big.
But if we take a small company, is it necessary that motivation and ambition are present in every team member? Or can we just have highly motivated leaders, managers, and then there are a bunch of people who just come, do their job, and their only motivation is like salary, monthly salary?
Well, of course, when the company is growing, so in the end of the day, you are going to have salary workers. So for them, it is a little bit different situation. But when we are talking about the core team, so the founding team, so it is really important that they, to some extent, they understand the ambition in a similar way. If one of the co-founders is not as ambitious as the other founders are, you're going to have problems sooner or later.
Okay, and how would you generally comment on the current situation of startup ecosystem in Finland?
Well, I think things are going to the better direction in many ways, but there is still something I believe that we are a little bit missing. I give you an example. 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, 2015, we were in Israel with a group of FIBAN people, about 10 people, and we spent there 1 week. We met local startups, local angels, local VCs. Well, one of the things that they told us is that Israel is a startup nation that is running a startup industry. Now, compared to Finland, we talk about, let's say, shipbuilding industry or maybe forestry industry, but definitely not startup industry. And I think that is something that we should really consider here, that we need different kind of structures and systems in place to start to think something similar, that we can say that we are maybe running a kind of a startup industry in some day. Let's say from investors' point of view, in the recent years, it has been more the cases that individual investors invest in individually into individual companies. So it's case by case by case. But we need more structures so that we really start to build kind of an industry over here. And that is, I believe, the direction where we should go.
There was a very clear explanation, and I genuinely think that your today's session would give a lot of food for thought.
I think so too. So we try to build some structures where we can constantly start to make better and better teams. The things that are going on over here at Tribe at the moment, for instance, this accelerator. So I think they are one step to doing things on a more structured way. In that sense, this is an important thing.
Do you generally believe that projects like this Red Brick Accelerator are useful for early stage startups?
Yes, I think so. That basically the challenge, of course, is that what happens when the project is finished. So that is something that we should think about here in the Tampere startup scene, that there is continuation on those things that we are doing, so that they don't just start a project and then finish it and then nothing happens after that.
Thank you for your interview, Ossi. Let's hope for the best for the young startups.
Okay, thank you.
And I hope to see you on Friday during the demo day. And anyway, thank you for being with us today on Tribecast and January this week on the Red Brick Accelerator. And we're having Jerry Härkänen and Linda Norgård, who work for Leitzinger and know everything about copyright. Hello, Jerry. Hello, Linda. What is your company working with, and why is what you're doing important for startups?
Okay, do you want to take this, or should I?
Where should we begin? Yeah. Well, we're working with IPR. We're an IPR agency, so we're working with IPR, which basically means patents, trademarks, designs, and other sorts of intellectual assets. And copyright is a part of an intellectual property, but it's not a registrable right in Finland in the same way. So the patents, trademarks, and designs are our main field.
Yeah.
And when is the right time for an early stage startup to talk to a company?
We like to get the clients to come and meet with us as early as possible. So essentially, there's no too early. There's no concept of being too early when you come in to talk with us. Then again, when you actually file for some applications, whether it's a patent or whether it's a trademark or a design application, then that is usually defined at a later stage to sort of suit your strategy the best. Not in every case you apply for everything now, but you might want to make a plan that, for example, first off we're gonna start off with the patent, and then after 5 years we'll see what the situation is, and if everything goes according to plans, we'll file the trademark and design application, for example, and continue with those. It might be one strategy, but there's as many strategies as there's companies, so.
Yeah, so the important thing is to make an IPR strategy in the beginning. You might not need to protect in the very beginning, but if if you have discussed these things with an expert, then you can make an informed decision that, okay, I will not protect now, I will protect later. But then it helps you when you seek for talk to investors. Then you can tell them, okay, we have discussed this matter with an expert and decided not to protect now. And for startups nowadays, they head for the global market quite early, and that makes it even more important to be aware of IP rights and protect them in good time. In a very early stage in some cases.
Do you think that it's better for a startup to have their own legal advisor, or to have a part-timer, or to sign a contract with an outside company?
It could be any one of those. Kind of depending on the profile of the startup as well. If they're actually shooting for a very rapid expansion and they're looking to sort of recruit, for example, 10, 20, 30 people during the next year, for example, then it might be useful to get your own lawyer or an IPR attorney to be part of your group. But then again, it could be the case that you can just basically ask us whenever you need the information on a sort of fixed price, for example, or then there's companies, for example, we have come up with the sort of service model that it basically works the same way as Spotify or Netflix. So basically, essentially, you pay one fee and you can utilize our services as much as you want. There's various different options, and we aim to give the startups even more by listening to them and to their needs, actually.
Okay, you said that you're quite proficient in working with startups.
We like to think that as well, at least, yeah.
Have you taken part as coaches in projects like Red Brick Accelerator before?
Well, we've held lectures at the Shortcut in an accelerator company just like this, but Leitzinger has been a partner of Maria 01 ever since they were founded. So in that sense, there has been cooperation in many different ways with Maria 01. So that's one example. There are other corporations as well with startup communities or centers.
Various incubators and accelerators are often accused of being too theoretical. I mean, visitors sit, listen to a lecture, ask a couple of questions, and then go home and forget it. Do you feel that your session today was practical? And what makes you think so?
I was very glad that the audience had many questions. That usually means that they have been listening and that they have thought the things through, and that the message we had actually reached them and was useful. Maybe the lecture is by far not enough. It's also important for us to provide material. For example,